Well, Beth and I want to thank each of you for coming, and the three lovely women who have agreed to come and share with us their stories, and most importantly, answer all of our questions and help give us the guidance to do this with as much grace and kindness that we all want to express for this family who we're going to welcome. So getting to the program, what we would like to do is I'll give you a brief introduction to these three lovely women. And first, I should say thank you to Kathy and Joan for helping us coordinate everything for tonight and guiding Beth and me on how one pulls together a panel at Washington Hebrew and the best way to do it, and really just to have this fantastic group of women joining us to share their experiences and answer our questions. The first woman is somebody who Kathy has known for quite some time. Fozia grew up in southern Afghanistan, the daughter of a doctor, who, when she was very young, was promised to a man in marriage. And as she grew and reached the age of 20, realized that the arranged marriage was not what she wanted to pursue, which led to some grave consequences for her and her family. She, in 2011, with the help of a relative, fled Afghanistan and came to the United States, and I believe with Kathy's assistance and her firm, was granted asylum here in the U.S. Today, she's living out in Sterling, Virginia. She's graduated from George Mason University, works as an IT professional, and also gives back to the community. She serves as a board member of the Tahiri Justice Center, which most of you probably know about. Tahiri is this incredible organization that has helped over 20,000 people fleeing violence in the last several decades. So, Fozia, thank you for joining us. Our second panelist is someone who anybody who was here for the Martin Luther King Shabbat and who got chills when the children sang might not have recognized our second panelist because her back was to all of us. But I remember Rabbi Lustig said, and my son repeated to me, it was the voices of angels, these beautiful children who filled the sanctuary. Thank you, Huranessa, and her family fled the war in Afghanistan a little bit earlier in the late 1970s, and eventually she became a New Yorker living in New York City. She's the youngest of 10 children. She attended a music major high school and received her bachelor's in elementary education and English literature. She's been in Northern Virginia since 2004, and she has 4 daughters. She was the president also of her own IT company for 10 years and served as the vice principal of Adams Radiant Hearts Academy for 8 years. Currently, she is the Beats music director at the Adams Center under the leadership of Imam Magid. And our third wonderful panelist, Zinat Ahmed, is the granddaughter of the Wali of Swat, and she moved to the United States from Pakistan. Zinat was educated at the Convent of Jesus and Mary in Pakistan by Catholic nuns, and she first arrived in the United States a little bit earlier, in the 1980s, and lives in Washington, D.C., where she's a real estate agent. She earlier worked with her husband, Ambassador Akbar Ahmed, who is currently chair of Islamic Studies at AU. Previously, she herself worked in graduate admissions at American University, and interestingly, in case any of you have seen this, she has been the associate producer of a number of films, including the Gina films starring Christopher Lee, and she was responsible for the production and design of the graphic novel The Quaid, Mr. Jinnah, The Story of Pakistan. These three women are just so wonderful, and what I'd like to do is invite them, and Beth will join me, and Rabbi Lustig, if you'd like, because you've done more panels than Beth and I ever. And if they're willing to say a few words, and then Beth has questions that we've received, so thank you to all of you who emailed us in advance, but we'll also open it up to your questions. So this should be a very interactive panel. Ladies.
Thank you all for being here once again. So we have questions we've received from a lot of our volunteers, and I'm just going to read them off, and however you choose to answer them one by one or taking turns would be just wonderful, and we are very excited to hear from each of you. Our first question has to do with some of the holidays. It would be helpful if you could highlight for us a few key traditions or customs or key holidays, special things that you might do on holidays to make the family more welcome at home. For example, what might be coming up that we should be aware of, or what happens on a weekly basis or monthly basis?
Good evening. First, I want to thank you for having us here tonight. It's a pleasure to see all your lovely faces again, because I have seen them before, and inviting all of us here to talk to you guys tonight about a very special and really heartwarming program that you guys are venturing on and taking on, and really it's touching all of our hearts very deeply. As far as holidays are concerned, there are two major Eid holidays. It's spelled E-I-D. One happens right after Ramadan, the holy month of fasting, and then one happens right after Hajj, which is the pilgrimage in Mecca. Normally, within our Central Asian context, they usually celebrate it for 3 days: the first day, the second day, the third day. The first day, what happens before that day starts, the family goes shopping and gets new clothes. That's one of the highlights that marks the holiday beginning. They go shopping, everybody gets new clothes, and they wear that the first day. First day, the whole family goes to the mosque to pray the Eid prayer. And if, there are many, depending on where they're living, I'm sure they'll be able to find a mosque that they can go to do the prayer. And then in the Afghan culture, growing up in New York, I have a lot of family members. So for us, it was always, we would go to our relative's house. And sometimes you would go and you would miss them because they're out going to other people's homes. So it was like, ring the bell, oh, they're not home. Okay, we'll meet them somewhere, and you end up running into them in another family member's house. So that was always fun. But here, if there's a family that's coming in new, they probably won't have that. So if you look at a lot of different masjids, they have Eid festivals. And that would be a great way to get these kids and the family members to mingle with people that are celebrating the same holiday, and also to make friends. And the festivals at Adams Center, for instance, when we have it, we have the whole carnival come. There's rides, there's food, and it's right on the property of the mosque. So when it's time for prayer, everybody can go and do their prayer as well. And that basically happens for all the both Eids. And the other thing that parents usually do is either they give the kids money on the first day as a gift for Eid, or they give them toys. Something I do with my 4 daughters, and I've made it a tradition, is I get them toys and then I do a scavenger hunt with them. So I have each one hiding in a different place, and every place they would go, they would find a clue to go to the next place to find the toy, so they wouldn't even know what they're getting, and they're all excited running around the house, just to make it more fun for them. And they would open it up, and the excitement, take pictures, having a camera to kind of keep those memories in line with them, and having the memories with them as they grow older would be something really nice for them. And then food, there's always some kind of dessert that's made in the house, either the night before or the day of, depending on the family. It could be rice pudding or some kind of baklava or some other sweets that, depending on the family, what they want to make. But definitely it's a communal holiday that definitely needs to have the family being exposed to other Muslims as well, because it's not something that you do alone in your own house. It's something that you go out and you celebrate with everybody else. Yeah, these are 2 major.
Yes. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So it's important that they go to a mosque, and I think the Adams Center, besides prayers, they would have lots of other facilities. And that's the best way, I think, for them to get make friends. And then there are many other that would also introduce them to the Friday prayer. and meeting up with other women there on Fridays. And then there are lots of other holidays as well. But I think once they become part of a community or they join a mosque, it would be easy for them to communicate with other friends. Yeah.
Thank you. Regarding male and female relationships, we would like to be very, very respectful of the gender roles and the customs of each of the families that we will hopefully be working with. Without asking for stereotypes, could you offer us an insight of male-female relationships and families from the region that we should be aware of? Specifically, is it okay for a woman to be driven in a car with a male volunteer?
As part of Afghan family, some men are really conservative in Afghans, because Pashtun is the culture which is really, really strict, and amongst the Muslims community, because we are the most strict people in this regard. But having a male volunteer would not be an ease for them, for those women. But having a female would be really easy for them to communicate and be relaxed with them. That's a plus point of you guys. I mean, I was reading this paper in the car, so I was really kind of thankful to you guys that you guys are pinpointing each and every single thing to be careful about our culture, and I really respect you guys for that. Thank you so much. And they don't shake hand. I don't shake hand with men still, even at the IT level. So I just do this thing so they just understand it, you know. It is our culture. This is why I love America, for this thing. So we don't shake hand, and plus when they come to our house, they have to knock, and then they cannot come inside like directly. Even if a kid opens it up, and then if they welcome them, they should still wait for a while, because we women are uncovered, so we have to cover ourselves first. That's the thing. And the shoes level and the cleanliness level, the volunteers, I was reading that, you know, they can get inside the house like that. You have to take out your shoes there, and that's it. I mean, ask for permission, and is there anyone else there? Regarding all, other things, men and women relationships, they don't talk to men this much, because whenever we come to a different place, they always introduce their men. So don't be like, don't feel offended that, okay, why aren't they talking to us? Maybe they should get shy and they run away from you. So don't get like, oh, why is she behaving like this? We are really, really from shy culture. So you might find some women that don't even say hi to you. They just go and hide. Oh, wait, my husband coming. They will be like this. So that's it. I mean, they will just introduce you to talk to my husband or any male person.
Can I ask a question to follow up? Two follow-up questions on that. One, would it be okay for a woman to drive a man in the car?
Yes, in that regard, yes. I mean, because men are a bit more brave and a bit more, you can say that, more introduced to this society. Because even in Afghanistan, they when they do business, I mean, we women cannot go like outside like that to talk to anyone. When they do business with women also. When they come across, I mean, they are habitual with that. But we women are not that habitual with talking to men or going out with men with whom we don't know.
Okay, thank you. And then the second question is, when the family does arrive and we go to their apartment and they allow us in, if we are, women who are welcoming or bringing things, do we automatically address the wife or the husband? Does it, do we sort of take a cue from them? Like, would the woman be more comfortable talking to us? Or are we okay talking to the man?
If she understands English, she would be more happy to talk to you. But I'm not sure. I mean, because most of the women that they come with men, their English is really weak. So they might not be comfortable with you like that much, but they will be standing. If there's a female, So they will be standing beside her husband, listening to you, and then saying thank you to you, because I have seen that.
I just want to make sure it's okay for us to talk to the man also.
Sure, yeah. They are comfortable with that, yeah. They are just conservative with women.
Sounds silly. I just wanna-
Yes, I think that if there's a male, then they have to be really careful about talking to a woman or walking directly into the house. They have to wait outside and then be invited inside. But it's okay for women, of course. Volunteers would be most welcome by other women. And even if they spoke very little English, they would be able to communicate, I think. And you'd be able to communicate very easily with them. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Should we make sure that male volunteers visit a family when there will be a man at home, or is it okay for a male volunteer to visit if there are only women at home, so long as a male volunteer is accompanied by a women volunteer?
I just wanted to add also to something they had to say. It's connected to this question. Fozia is right about everything she said in terms of people coming from the southern part of Afghanistan. There are some discrepancies depending on the family if they're coming from the north or the capital. There are some families, not a lot, that are a little bit more liberal with women and men interacting. But again, it just depends on the family. And taking cue when you get there is the biggest insight you can have, because if you go in and the husband is in front and he's talking, then you address him. If you see that the woman is able to talk, then that means they have that ability to communicate that it's okay for her to talk to you. Best foot forward is to first kind of start talking to the husband and see like where that goes, and then see if she's saying yes, yes, no, no, and then kind of, you know, see if she understands what you're saying. But again, it depends on the family. But majority of Afghans that are coming nowadays here, the culture context in terms of men and women relationship is a bit more complicated than it is, you know, here. Right. The question you asked was about male volunteers with women volunteers. I think the biggest issue you have to understand is that Afghans are very protective of their women. And they're protective of them against other men. Not because they think you're going to do something bad or that you have ill intentions, is because the pride of the family is usually rendered around the female. So she holds the honor of the family. She's the one who will carry the torch, kind of, if something bad happens to her, it's like shame on the whole family. Mm-hmm. So that's why the interaction between male and female is very sensitive. So if you have a male volunteer going, I would highly recommend to take a female if there's no male in the house. This way, no one can say something happened or you said something. You would have someone with you who can corroborate everything you say and say, well, this is what happened, this is what we did. So you have another set of eyes, another set of ears to kind of go along, you know, with everything that you're trying to do for them. And this way, when they feel comfortable, you will feel comfortable.
Mm-hmm. And then there's a question down here that a lot of people are wondering about is, nobody wants to make anybody feel uncomfortable, and a lot of times they feel that people might just, with lack of understanding with the English, the communication, and nobody wants to hear yes, yes, and you know, what's the best way to communicate so that there is very clear communication and not making people do things that they're not comfortable with, such as shaking hands or approaching or asking, can I give them a present or so forth like that, especially in these kinds of situations?
She's from Afghanistan.
Like just giving the presents, you said? I mean,
even with just approaching each other, or how to enter, best way to enter the home, for example, if nobody's there and the woman doesn't feel comfortable accepting any volunteer, what's the best way to handle that from our point of view? And the woman's alone in the house with the children, for example, and she doesn't speak very good English. Is the best way for us to say, no problem, we'll come back, or guide us on the best way to not offend the family?
If you already know it beforehand, I would say that just hand her a letter or something. That would be good. Just knock the door and say this. If your husband is not at home, just tell him to call this number, or you can just give him whatever question you have, or if you have anyone like translator with you, that would be good. If her husband is away for a week, or sometimes it happens, her husband goes somewhere, or if you are in urgent need of an answer from her, so that you can take someone like me or anyone who can just speak with her, so it would be easier for you. And apart from that, she already knows. When she opens the door or something, if someone is not home, she will send her child first, that to look, and he will answer that my father or someone is not home. So she would just kind of return from there. And as she said that, there are some liberal families. Despite the fact I am also, like the more, I call myself a little modern, but not like totally Western. I'm a modern Muslim. Still, most of us, kind of, what do you say, that push our men first, to answer these things, or ask them, can we do this or this or not? So this is the thing, that we are kind of protected by them. We just feel good, under their protection.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question connected to that?
Of course.
Which is not just what the volunteers should do, but what are the cultural habits in Afghan culture, if you can generalize, for, say, an uncomfortable situation? Do people laugh? Do they get angry? Do they avoid the situation? How would Afghans behave, for instance, if something was uncomfortable, for us to understand? Sometimes, because it can be very different maybe than the way many Americans might handle a certain kind of situation.
It's a great question.
As a woman, she would be like, she would shorten her sentences with you, or she would be like, no husband, or like this, like this, come tomorrow, or like this, she would be like, and she would just little bit get confused. You will just grab it from her expression, that she will get, kind of little bit, like shaky, that okay, but apart from that, I have not experienced anyone, kind of opening the door and not kind of responding in a smile, or not, kind of in any other behavior that you can say that, okay, she's not. Because I have seen, like in American culture, they are so, whenever, someone comes to our house, they come from churches, they come from any other places, they are really respectful, the way our culture is. They just stand like a bit farther, and then they say that, hi there, ma'am, how are you? Kind of, we have come for this and that. So we feel really comfortable.
What about, though, so even talking about men and women, not just women, and talking about a situation where many of our volunteers are already maybe acquainted with, in other words, we've already developed a basic interaction relationship, and yet a topic comes up between, say, the family and a couple of volunteers that have come to the home to do something or help with something. Sorry, am I not loud enough? Usually I'm always loud enough. So they already know the family, but they unwittingly bring up something that might be offensive or distressing. What are the cues that we might look for from both the husband and wife, or even the children, that we might not recognize coming from our own cultural perspective?
Actually, in Afghan culture, whatever someone brings, because it's not like compulsory to bring something for a woman, for kids or anything. Even if you bring fruits, we will be more happier than ever. I mean, we just kind of really appreciate anything. And apart from that, there is nothing like, I mean, if something is not in our religion and someone brings that, then we might be saying that, okay, I mean, someone knows that we are not from that religion, so, you know, this thing maybe a little bit, you know, kind of, because they are new here, you know, they don't know. Because they will be like, okay, why is this happening, or why did they bring this thing? Because our children are not like that, or this and that. So maybe apart from that, I have like complaints about, like, I have like talked to people, you know, like that. Okay, that's sometimes, you know, people come and then they say it like this and that. Apart from that, they are not. I mean, kind of complaining about any other thing, any other gift or any other present. They are always like happier.
I think if a topic were to come up where someone, either the husband or the wife, would feel insulted or not happy about the topic, they regress and they will stay quiet. They will not engage in the conversation. They will not go further with it. But Afghans, I don't know if any of you have ever been to an Afghan family's house here, they're very gracious hosts. They will never offend a guest. So even if you as volunteers come to their house to help them, you are seen as guests. And guests are above the family. Like, you will get the best stuff on the table, you will get the best tea, you will get the best food. They will never tell you to leave the house because that's an insult. If you were to get up and leave without even drinking the tea they gave you, they would feel insulted because they have offered you something from their house to you as a guest, and for you as a guest would have to be that you eat what they give you. And don't worry, it's all good stuff, you know, and healthy stuff. Afghans are avid nut eaters, so all kinds of cashews, pistachios, you know, walnuts, mulberries, anything natural, you know, they'll bring it out, and those are all the good stuff. And the cakes and the cookies that they make, they're really good. So anytime you see them regress from a conversation, know that that's something they don't want to go into.
So along those lines, because they are such good hosts, is there ever a point where I would feel bad going there and always having them feel like they have to entertain us, like we want to help them too. So, you know, is there ever a time where we're coming too often and we're imposing on the family?
No. Afghan culture is very, like I said, guest-oriented, so it doesn't matter how many times you come, they will always treat you the same way. They will always bring you the tea. They will always bring you, if it's food time, you have to sit and eat food. So make sure that if you're going during lunch and they bring the food out, you're going to have to eat. Okay? So if you want to avoid that, don't go during lunchtime or dinner time. And another thing that Afghan women do with other women is that we kiss 3 times. Right, left, right. So if they come up to you and they greet you, they don't shake your hands, women to women, they kiss you from right cheek to left cheek to right cheek. That's 3. So if you do 2, they'll get confused. So it's right, left, right, because it'll be your right and their right starting as well. And that's customary. That's a way of them inviting you into their home and saying that I have accepted you. Afghan women to other women are very friendly. They like to talk to women. They like to get to know you. And with the men, they're a little bit more shy. But again, it depends on the family. But women to women, when you come and you're helping them and you're trying to make life easier for them, they see you as an extension of their family. You might end up having a long-term relationship with that family as well, because they will call you and they will ask you how your family is, and they will ask you how your children are, because they will feel that they have that bond with you. Even probably years later, they will invite you over to their house and feed you yummy Afghani food. But that's just the way they keep that line of gratitude open with you. So when they're inviting you over, or no matter how many times you go over, don't ever feel that you're putting them on an uneasy spot. They actually love to do those things for you.
And how do men greet men?
They shake hands, or they shake hands and then they hug. Some men do kiss too, but they're not going to do that with you, because I know they're going to know that it's not customary here. But that usually they do with close family members or close friends. So they will definitely shake hands with you. Again, I don't want to paint a picture where, like, when you're ringing the doorbell, you're kind of like shaking, like, oh my God, what's going to happen? It's not like that. Trust me. Because they know you're coming and you're their friends. They're going to open the door. You just have to remember you have to take your shoes off at the door. You don't walk into the house with shoes. We don't wear shoes inside the house. You go sit down, you greet them, they greet you, you have some tea, you talk about whatever it is. Do not leave until you drink the tea. Because normally they usually have the table set out before you even come, with the nuts and the cookies and the cakes and all the yummy stuff. Doesn't mean you have to eat all of it, but and then they will come every time. They will take the tray every 5 seconds and bring it in your face and like, please take it. If you don't take, that's an insult. So more of the insult is not eating the food than it is anything else.
Thank you.
Yes. So this hospitality that the Afghans got is from Abraham, who kept one flap of the tent open for the stranger. And this is very much embedded in Afghan culture. We have so much in common. There are many tribes on the Pakistan-Afghanistan border who consider themselves the descendants of the Jews, the lost tribe, the original lost tribe. And they have the same customs. They put things on their doors exactly like you people do. And so they feel very close. I think all the Afghans consider themselves descendants of the Jewish people.
And they're very welcoming in terms of, like, once you build that relationship with them. I had the opportunity, because at Adam Center, my main job is I do outreach, interfaith media, government coordination under Imam Majid. And because of that, I'm able to meet a lot of different people from different areas and different walks of life. And one of the things that I did was I met some Afghan families who had recently moved here. And we were at a picnic, and the wife was sitting there. She, was speaking a little bit of Urdu, which is what they speak in Pakistan, because she went through there to get here. But she really didn't connect with anybody. The minute somebody told her that I'm from Afghanistan, she ran to me. Like, she ran, took me, and she's like, do you speak Farsi or Pashto? I was like, I don't speak Pashto, but I speak Farsi. And she was just like, I was her best friend. It was like I grew up with her. She felt so comfortable. And I was just, I was taken aback, because I'm like, she doesn't really even know me. Like, okay, we're from the same background, but, I could be like a crazy person, do some weird stuff. But she's like, no, you have to come to my house. I'm going to cook for you. And she kept calling me until I went to her house. And then she had the spread, and it was so nice. And that's exactly how they're going to take you guys in. So please don't be afraid. It's not going to be anything, abnormal at that level.
Yes, I think that the customs are not going to, they're not so important for them. More important for them is your love and understanding and welcoming them to this country.
Can I ask another question?
So these, the new refugee family will be undergoing a lot of potentially stressful situations and a stressful time in their lives, maybe some economic instability, stress about finding a new job, health issues. Is there a way that we as volunteers can be supportive of them, to make them feel like we can help, and that they don't have to hide it from us, or they don't have to be ashamed, that we're there to help them, we don't want to make them lose their pride, but that we're there to help them address these challenges and help them to be, in the long term, self-sufficient.
Yeah, and one thing with Afghan men, they take very big pride on the fact that they're the providers for their family, and that's goes back to an Islamic concept that the financial burden is on the father and the husband. One of the things maybe you could do once they do come here is to find a local mosque that has social services provided there. I know in Virginia, between Darul Noor, Darul Hijra, and the Adam Center, we cover a 20-mile radius per mosque in terms of who we give support to through our social service department. At Adams, we give out about $600,000 to $700,000 a year in social service support, and this would make something for them, a little bit easier because they're going to a familiar place, right? They might not take handouts, they might not take money, but they are willing to listen to services that they would need, whether it's healthcare or something else that they would need, but at the same time helping them get a job. So when you go to a mosque, you'd more likely find someone who they can talk to in Farsi or Pashto, whatever language they speak, and talk about their grievances and talk about the things that what their background is, what they did in Afghanistan as a job, and how they can come here and do that. I know a lot of Afghan SIV. The SIV is the special immigration visas. There are a lot of Afghan men who have come here through that visa. And back there, they were like professors or doctors. Now they're like Uber drivers. So for them, it's like a notch down. And a lot of them are complaining that, wait, we thought we were going to come here and have a great life, but we can barely make ends meet. We live in an apartment with 5 other men, and we don't have our families here. So making them connect to the mosque that's close by would, I think, definitely make it easier and more helpful for you guys.
I can project it.
This is my job.
When you all talk to families who have recently arrived here over the course of time, I guess, what are some of the most common either sources of confusion that they have about American culture? So, what are some of the questions that they ask you, like, what's up with this? Or like, how do I do this? Or some of the most common struggles they have that might not be obvious when they first get here?
The ones I've spoken to, they're very intrigued in seeing people from different races and religions here because they've pretty much been around the same people growing up in Afghanistan. So when they come here, seeing people from different backgrounds is really intriguing for them, but they love it because they say that, even with their neighbors, they're able to connect with them and, give each other food. And even though they might not speak the language, they're able to connect to them on a human level. One issue that, it's not even an issue, it's just them not knowing the different holidays that are here, whether it's Christmas or Hanukkah, and what does that mean? So that one family, I had to sit down and tell them, well, this is their holiday, this is what happens in Christmas, this is what happens in Hanukkah, and they're like, oh, okay, we didn't know that. Now we know because our kids are all from school, and we don't know why they're all from school. So it's just getting them, information about the different cultures.
The biggest, confusion, or you can say the hardships that they face, is not being familiar with the city. Which store is where to get that, where to get the halal meat, where to get here, there, or whatever. I mean, how the prices of the things. If you get the prices of the stuff for them, get them places. Okay, this is the place there, this is the halal food area, this is the Indian food area, this is the Afghan food area. Get them the list of the things. This would be really, really, really the big help. The best thing that we needed as me, if I can say that, if someone tells me these are my options, this is the place, this is the place, this is the place, and these are your options, I'm done. That's it. This is what Afghans are. I mean, like they are never ever, they don't ever want to be dependent on anyone. Just get them their stuff. These are your options. These are the places. That's it. All done.
Yeah, and I think maybe even eventually getting them a car. There are different organizations that even donate to refugees. Yes.
I'm going to ask a follow-up before I pass the mic. Can you talk about when you first arrived and what were some of those cultural shocks for you, for the good and the challenging? All three of you.
Okay, so I came in the early 1980s. I was a wee little child, and that was after the Soviets invaded Afghanistan back in the late 1970s. We fled Afghanistan when I was 1, and we went into Pakistan for a couple of years. We lived in Karachi, so I picked up Urdu there. And then my brother was here. He was studying, so he was able to sponsor us. luck would have it, me and my siblings were not supposed to come as early as we did. I'm the youngest of 10 kids, and I had older siblings. My parents were actually grandparents before I was born. Yeah. So I was not supposed to be in the picture, right? So, so when my brother was here, he was sponsoring my mom and my dad, and they were supposed to come here May of that year, but my mom passed away March. So instead of my mom, she passed away in Pakistan. My sister came with my dad, and when they went through the immigration judge, he's like, "Well, where's the wife?" And he felt so bad, so guilty that, his 5 underage children were in another country, just leaving a war, that he granted all of us visas to come. So we were here by August, and that never happens. So we were really grateful to that judge. He was able to get our families here together. So I landed at JFK Airport in Queens, New York, and that's where I grew up. I'm sure you can tell my New York accent. I lived there until my late 20s. And then I moved here with my family after that. Growing up, the biggest issue we had was people trying to understand us, because they're like, "Where are you from?" And I would tell them Afghanistan. They're like, "Where? Like, what's that?" Like, they've never heard of it. Like, so you have to explain them, get a globe, what's right here, and, Central Asia, this is what we eat, this is what we do. And people really didn't know who we were as a people until 9/11 happened. And then everybody knew. The minute you would say Afghanistan, they'd be like, "Oh," I'd be like, no. It's totally different set of people. Growing up as Muslims, it was hard trying to differentiate between the things we could do and the things we couldn't do, and having our friends kind of understand that. I started wearing hijab my first year in college, so no one even knew I was Muslim growing up unless I told them. But the things like we couldn't, we can't eat pork, we can't drink, we don't date before marriage, we don't drink alcohol. Those were all weird things not to do for my friends. But because they got to know me for who I was, they learned to appreciate that. And majority of my friends were Christians, and they were the nicest people that I could have asked for growing up. They, would give me Christmas presents. They're like, "We know you don't celebrate it, but I saw this and I thought of you and I wanted to share it because it's a holiday." So in return for Eid, I would give them a present. And then they would, kind of through that relationship, they were able to understand who we are as Muslims. However, I did, in elementary school during Christmas, get lights, and I put it up in my bedroom window, because I was like, everybody else has lights, I'm going to put lights up too. So it's kind of like that, you feel as one with everybody around you. And then, that was pretty much it. And when we came, there was no halal meat. I'm sure you guys know by now that, as Muslims, we eat a certain type of meat. It's like you guys eat kosher. Halal meat, you have to go to a certain Muslim-owned butchery. They cut the beef, the lamb, the goat, the chicken in a certain way, the way it's sacrificed, and that's the meat that we can eat. So if you are going to take your guests somewhere, make sure that it's a halal dhabiha place that serves that type of meat. So we didn't have any of that stuff when we came here. So we would eat the chicken that was at the grocery store because there was nowhere else to go. But as time went by and more Muslims came, more stores were opening up, more butcheries were available to us. So now we have an abundance of stores you can go to with all different kinds of cuts, because we did not have steak for a very long time, and I was very upset about that. So we go to this butchery, they're like, "Cut a steak." They're like, "We don't cut steak." But now they do. So yeah, I think that's...
So again, I would say that the biggest hardship is knowing the options. Get us the options, what we can do, even the educated people. When I first came, I don't regret anything. I mean, whatever comes from Allah, God. So I had my own one degree, which was in economics. I was a bachelor's in economics, and then when I came here, I did the MIS here in Mason. So nobody told me that I can be a substitute teacher. I was working for $7 in TJ Maxx. Nobody told me that you can just apply for the substitute teacher, which pays you $15 per hour Or when you sign with them 2 years of contract, you can have $22 for substitute teacher. So I could earn like a lot. So options, when an educated person comes in, tell him that, okay, first evaluate your degree according to the school or whatever, then get the job, do the courses. Even some of the IT jobs, they do not need any degree from you. Can you believe it? Nobody needs degree for you. They just need you to know the stuff. Do you know this? How to test? User acceptance testing? Okay, yes. Did you do this course? Do you have this certification? Get them. Tell them. If you don't have a degree even, just go get these courses done, and then you can be hired. Because these are the institutes like the Krishna and every other. There are some IT offices. IT programs running. They have their own, kind of. They hire people. They have people there in those Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, these AOL, these kind of big companies. They have their own people. They train them, then send them, and they are hired. So nobody told us these options. We had to find it like years and years after. My brother was an MBA gold medalist when he came here. He was working at Target around $8. One of the Indian guy came. He asked him, okay, bro, so what did you do? So he was just like in a common discussion with him. Okay, I'm an MBA gold medalist. He said, what? You are MBA gold medalist and working in Target for $8, $9? He said, yeah, I'm just searching for a good job. And he said, nobody's going to give you a job on this. Go get this course done, and you will be hired in the IT. So this is what happened. 3 months of course, and he was hired. So get us the options. We educated people needs options. We need to know what's going on, what is remaining in our degree to be completed. Then we are good to go. Yeah.
So we came to Washington, D.C. Just before 9/11. And straight after 9/11, Rabbi Lustig and his family welcomed us here and made us feel very much at home. And ever since, we've just loved Rabbi Lustig's family and the Hebrew congregation. So thank you so much to all of you for making life so wonderful for us, and especially my wonderful friend, Joan Greenbaum, who made it possible for me to be with you tonight. Thank you so much.
So I have a food question, because I'm always thinking. Oh, sorry. So my question is about food. So recently there's an Afghan restaurant that has opened up not too far from here. And we haven't gone yet, but we're going to go. So can we assume that food is halal? Or no?
You can look for a sign either on the
Okay.
door, or they usually get a certificate
Okay.
of halal certified restaurant that they post up.
Okay.
But I will say Afghans by default only use halal meat.
Okay, so
yeah.
we can,
Yeah.
well, I'll check, but
You could check,
now
yeah.
I know what to check for.
You'll even find Indian restaurants that will
Okay.
serve halal meat, because majority of their clientele are Muslims.
Okay.
So yeah, that won't be an issue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the diet and what it means to be halal? And is it just meat? Like, for example, when you're kosher, you can't mix dairy and meat. What
It's
goes
pretty
into it?
simple. There's no issues in mixing anything in the refrigerator or putting things separately. So to go kind of back into of defining words, halal just means permissible, but chicken is permissible. But when we say dhabiha is the way we slaughter the animal, right? So Afghans, because they're not used to the word dhabiha, they say halal. But if you go to an Arab and ask them if this is halal, they will say yes, even though it might not be dhabiha. You get it? It's kind of like confusing. So if you go to like an Arab store or an Arab restaurant, you have to ask them, is this dhabiha? And it's spells with a Z, but in Arabic it's a dha, so we don't say the Z sound. But if you say halal, they say, yeah, it's halal, it's chicken. You can eat it. But for Afghans, it's that higher up level that we're looking for. Because again, even amongst Muslims, there's difference of opinion of meat that you can eat. Some say you don't have to eat only the biha. You can eat chicken as long as it's chicken. But Afghans are very particular about this. So, if you take them to a restaurant and it's not the biha, they won't be happy. So just make sure that that's something that you definitely check out. And another thing to have, and this is something in all Muslim households, but Afghans are very particular about this, is to have a watering can in the bathroom. So, and I say watering can because we haven't come up with anything besides a bidet. Modern terms, in terms of what we call our ablution, is when we make wudu. Wudu is ablution when we cleanse ourselves before prayer. A process of the prayer, of the cleansing, is washing yourself after you use the toilet. You use water to cleanse yourself and then you wipe. And that's mandatory before you do the ablution part. So, when you guys go to buy the stuff, make sure they have that. It's usually a small watering can. I'm sure if those of you have gone to masjids or mosques, you will see the watering cans in the bathroom. Now some places have the bidet or the spray, but in the household, they usually just, you're going to need to get them that watering can. It's almost as crucial as taking your shoes off before you enter.
Rabbi?
So it's a very simple thing to, plumbing-wise, to add the hose.
Yeah.
And is that preferable if we're going to prepare an apartment?
It depends, because some apartments won't let you do that. So
Wow.
it depends on the apartment complex. And then you would probably just have to teach them how to use it. But yeah, I don't think it'll be an issue. Either or, something has to be there for them to have access to water.
In addition to a bidet, you mentioned mats before. What other are must-haves in an apartment when we're setting it up? Could you help us with that?
Apart from mats, there is nothing our priority. Apart from this, that the carpet should be new, it shouldn't be used before. Otherwise, if it's used, then you have to wash it. Because we assume that everybody knows that in US there are some people have dogs there, and dogs, even a hair of dog is not permissible in our religion to be in the house. So this is really a thing to be careful about, and also it shouldn't be dirty in any wise. So you have to just clean the carpet, or the carpet should be new. And the rugs, even if you don't buy the rugs, you can just tell them, these are the Muslim stores. You can buy the rug yourself, whatever you like to. But yeah, the rugs, if there are some, 2 rugs would be fine. There's nothing else priority. Apart from, as wise.
But you want an area rug and then
Yes.
prayer mats as well?
And if you can buy a compass to have the qibla, they can do it buy it on their own, but a compass would be a really easy thing.
Compass?
Yeah, a compass, because they will have, because for praying we have a particular direction to the qibla, is our particular direction to, like it's northeast in Virginia.
Okay.
So the northeast is our direction. So the compass should tell them, that northeast is this way or that way.
Mm-hmm.
So then they have to pray it that way. So these are the basic needs.
Okay.
I'm going to let him go because he's been waiting. And then
Oh, that's all right. All right. Actually, before I ask a question, I'd be remiss if I didn't say a word about your biographies, which were just sort of a reminder of how much stronger this country is for immigrants from all kinds of countries, including ones that have been in strife. And I think a lot of us probably came from ancestors or grandparents that were like that as well. So it just struck me listening to how much you've contributed to this country before coming here tonight. So then on to my question. We wondered, I had 2 questions. One is, we hope to engage our 7-year-old son in this work as well. And we wondered if you have any insights on, if we bring him to the home, any insights on how he can engage effectively with the children or with the adults. And the second is, we were curious if, should it come up, is there any guidance on how we would welcome the family into our home? Obviously around food, but anything other than that?
So children are children, and I think in any given family, they would love to have children come and play with their kids. And I think even the concept of there being a language barrier would just disappear when you put a game out and show them how to do it, they'll just play. So I don't think there's an issue with kids, and it'll be a great idea. And that doesn't matter at a young age. It's when they get into teenagers, that's when they start separating. Bringing them into your home, that's such a nice gesture on your part, and for them to feel that they are part of your family as well. But the biggest issue in that would be, again, the dietary restrictions. Sometimes, so for us, even having alcohol at the table would not be permissible. Going out with someone and they're drinking alcohol at the table would, we would have to like go to another table just from a religious perspective. Cats are fine. The dogs, she had mentioned that it's an issue with the Hanafi madhab, which is what most Central Asian countries follow. There are other schools of thought that have differences of opinion, but people from the Central Asia follow mostly the Hanafi madhab, which have really strict guidelines with dogs per se. Cats are fine. So if you do have a dog, maybe you want to put him in his room or somewhere else so he's not interacting with them. In Afghanistan, they do have dogs. A lot of people do, but they don't bring them in the house. And a lot of people are scared of dogs because they haven't interacted with them. So, you might see, like, if a dog comes, you will see some Afghans jump back, especially the women, because they haven't interacted with a dog. Like, I'll jump only because I was chased by a dog when I was growing up in the streets of Queens. So I'm still traumatized by that. But, like, if it's a little cute, puppy, I can, like, sit and, like, talk to him. But, like, if it's a bigger dog, then I remember what I went through. But, yeah, I mean, that's really nice of you to be open to having them come to your house. And, and Rabbi Lustig knows the work of interfaith that we're all part of, that opening your home is like opening your whole self to people that you don't know, but you're inviting them because just that level of humanity that you have connected with them with, that speaks volume. You don't even have to speak the same language. So thank you.
With microphones coming.
Again, with the food, is there anything else besides the meat?
Okay, gelatin, if anything has gelatin, unless it says vegetarian gelatin or soy gelatin.
But that's because it's made of pork.
Right, or sometimes it's made out of beef too, but you don't know, right? So unless it says fish, but like marshmallows is a big issue. It's a no-no unless you get it from a halal store, which doesn't have the pork gelatin or the beef gelatin. Afghans are very big on their Afghan bread. So if you have an Afghan market that's close by, you could take them there and they could even get their meat there, because usually those markets sell the meat. They sell the different things that they need to cook their food. I'm not sure where you're going to be hosting the family or where they're going to be living. Are they going to be in D.C. or?
They might be in Prince George's County.
Prince George, that's in Maryland,
or
right?
We're looking at.
Yeah, okay.
And where?
Okay, so they have a lot of halal grocery stores that carry Afghan stuff in them. So you don't necessarily have to go just to an Afghan grocery store. But if they want certain Afghan things, there are more stores in Virginia. There's Medina Market in Herndon. There's some in Alexandria, some in Arlington that's closer. There's an Afghan market, I think, in Arlington, and they have everything from A to Z, even things from back home. They can, find it there and feel more connection to it. So it's alcohol, anything related to pork or non-dhabiha meat, and then meat. Those are the big caveats. But fish is fine. They can eat any kind of fish. But I will tell you that because Afghans are not used to eating shrimp and crab and all different types of fish, they might not be willing to eat it, but that doesn't mean they can't eat it. Right, so like in my family, we grew up, no one ate shrimp. So when I got older, I was like, I'm gonna try shrimp. And I would eat it, but my sister's like, oh no, I'm not gonna eat that. Not because we can't, or it's, against our religion. It's just something they're not used to. But they'll eat like salmon, just regular fish, nothing like shrimp or crabs or lobster. They're not used to that stuff.
Besides teas, are there any must-haves in the kitchen that would be really nice for us to have in them?
Yes. So the nuts I said are very important.
Okay.
Cashews, walnuts, peanuts, pistachios, mulberries. And again, you can find all of these in the Afghan grocery stores. a thermos for the tea, the ones you press and it comes out, those nice fancy ones. Definitely have a nice dinner set because they like to host, ones that come with nice teacups. They need trays to bring the stuff to you, and they don't just plop it on the table. They bring your tea to you, and you take it from them from the tray. There's a lot of formalities in terms of how they treat their guests, and to have those things would make it very easy for them.
I think the most important thing is they make their bread at home, so flour would be a necessity, and the dish on which they make it.
So I know we have a few questions, but I have one other question leading to that. Are there American type of kitchenwares that we should have or should not have? For example, microwaves or bread makers? Or should we not be introducing those type of machines?
I think the ovens, it's in Kabul in Afghanistan. We have already those kind of ovens. I mean, these are fine, and even the stoves, they are also there. I mean, it's not that backward. But it's kind of we have everything that we have here. Utensils, I would say that the bigger ones, we Afghans need those. The pans are fine. I mean, you can buy, whatever size pan, that's fine. But utensils should be this bigger, because we eat rice, for the rice and for other things, so this should be this bigger ones. The Sonex company, or any other, these I don't know, top of my head. So these should be the bigger ones, like 2 to 3 or 4. The utensils, the steel, yeah, the steel, yeah. 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 So these are the basic necessity of Afghans is this: the thermos, glasses of tea, and the spices. Yeah, the spices are what do you say that? The turmeric. What do you say that? Cumin seeds, cloves. What do you say that? What's that long cinnamon, right? Did you say cinnamon?
I said cardamom.
Oh, okay. Cinnamon is the...
Sounds so delicious.
Yeah. Cinnamon, so these are our basic spices. Because we are not that into Indian or Pakistani spices. These are our basic spices. What do they call gashniz?
Chives.
Chives, okay.
Chives you will find at the Asian food market. It's a vegetable. They use that to make burani, which is an Afghan dish. That's what they use to fill it in. So it's called chives. It's quite cool.
And
they could use a rice cooker, but they're not used to it. They like to take some people cook the rice in the oven after they've done the initial part, so they need to be able to fit it in the oven for it to, what we call dam, to steam it in place.
if you would like, I will show you the picture of the utensils also that they need. So it's like this bigger than this. It says it's a set. It's a whole set. That would be fine. That would be enough. Yeah, more than enough. It's almost, I think so, for $70 or $80, these 3 would come. And then what do you say that the what's that called? Kafkir. Spatulas. Yeah. Then these. Yeah, and then a pressure cooker is also a must, because pressure cooker, it's a must, because we use it on daily basis, because for kids, we make like this rice and potato and these kind of stuff, and then we make soup in it for the lamb meat or of the goat meat or anything. So it's like a must there. These things, it's a must. If it will be there, they'll be like blessed. Okay, wow.
One other thing that you can also get, is the homemade spaghetti maker machine, because pasta maker, because they need the bread they need the dough themselves, and they need the machine to kind of put it through, especially if they're making ash or any like sambosas or stuff, because they like to knead the dough themselves. They don't want to buy it from the store, so that would really have.
One that's manual?
Yeah, the manual one. Yeah. The manual, yeah. You put the dough through it and it cuts it in pieces or stretches it out. But that would make life so much easier for them.
Mary Beth, thanks
Thank
for being
you.
so patient.
Sure. So if we can go back to the carpet question, because on Wednesday, we're going to be starting to look at sites. And so I'm very intrigued because I'm imagining wall-to-wall carpet in most of these places.
Mm-hmm.
So I imagine that once a tenant leaves, they will shampoo the carpets. Is that enough?
That's fine as long as the carpet is clean. They would prefer it being brand new, but we know that a lot of apartments will not new it unless it's quite damaged and it's been a couple of years. So as long as it gets professionally cleaned and steamed, that takes all the dirt off. It should be fine. And then Afghans, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the whole Afghan rug thing. We're very into our rugs, not carpet. The Afghan rugs, which is the really pretty expensive ones. No, I'm just talking about the ones we put in the living room and stuff. Prayer rugs is a whole other story. So they will probably end up buying a rug to put on top of the carpet in their living room or in their bedroom. It's just a more homey thing for them. That's what they do over there as well. So the carpet is one thing, but they will also end up buying rugs. These aren't cheap rugs either because they're made out of silk. They're imported from overseas. It has a very Afghan style to it, and it's usually red. So that's something that they will look into also. And then there's the prayer rug, which you can buy at the Halal meat store also. Like maybe 5 of them, ones that they will use for themselves, and then a few for their guests. They usually fold them and put them away when they're not using them for the 5 daily prayers.
And is that something we would provide for them?
If you provide that ahead of time, it would just make them feel so much more connected with you, that you thought about those things ahead of time, because then they would have to go and find it. Although in different, again, schools of thought, you could pray anywhere, right? But Afghans are very particular about their prayer rug. If you do not have the prayer rug, you cannot pray. So,
I'm a little bit, I just want to know, is this a thing that basic needs we are talking about, or just making them happy? Because this, the rugs, the bigger rugs that my sister is talking about, is just like our fashion, luxury. It's not that something we need, actually. It's something we like. If we like it, we feel like home, okay, if it's there. But if you guys don't find it, or we were not going to complain it, because it's just like a fashion, it's luxury. So I'm not going to burden you guys on it. We need the basic necessities that I told you. It's like this. Likes and dislikes, it's upon us. Whatever you want to decorate your house for whatever Afghan culture is, decorate it yourself then later. You guys are there for us for basic needs, and I really, really appreciate that for that. And also for the carpet thing, that if you want to give us you can say that in Islamic way, religious way, if the carpet is, you want to just wash it, then wash it 3 times. It's in our religion. If something has filth on it, or anything dirt or whatever, you just want to wash it or make it like for us to be clean, to be called clean, religious-wise, wash it 3 times. Or otherwise, you can just have a new. It's just like I'm just letting you know that in our religion, how do we call a clean thing? That you have to wash a carpet or anything 3 times. Then it will be like we cleaned.
And what about covering for the windows, like curtains, or curtains is okay?
Yeah, curtains is also fine, and plus curtains again. We don't have curtains in our every room. The American style that we have, that thingy that we can, the blinds, that would be enough. But again, if you want to buy a curtain, it will be a luxury. So if someone wants to whatever, kind of cover it, this and that, still, if it's a question of covering, the blinds already cover it. If you want to just decorate their house, it will be so nice.
Yeah, it's just so that they're able to close the window, especially at night, so people can't come in.
I may not need that, I don't know.
Here you go, Jess.
Since I see the prayer rug as something very personal, is it all right for us to buy that for them, or would it be better if they chose their own?
wouldn't. Standard. It's not something that they would be like, no, we're not going to use it because you bought it for us, and we didn't get to choose our own. Now, again, she's saying like there's different levels of prayer rugs you can get. They just need something basic that they can pair them on, but they will not have an issue.
They will get so happy that if you just give them that's your prayer, they will be like, wow, you know that already? They were like, thank you.
Okay, I think if anyone has any we have a couple more questions, and then I think we're going to wrap up and go into the other room. Two more questions?
So if it's time to pray, if I'm in your home, what should I be doing?
You just allow them, they will excuse themselves. And they will say, oh, so the adhan goes on, which is the call to prayer. That usually goes off 10 minutes when the prayer time comes in. In the masjid, there's two. There's the call to prayer, the first one, which is the adhan, and then there's the iqama, which happens like 10 minutes later. The first one is to tell everybody, okay, prayer time is in. You need to go make sure you do your ablution. Prayer is going to start in 10 minutes. Then the second one happens, which is a little shorter. Then everybody lines up for prayer. At home, normally if they have the app on their phone, it'll go off, like the call to prayer will go off, and they will say, oh, excuse me, I have to go pray. Now, some of them will go rush to prayer right when it starts. Some will take a few minutes because we do have a lot of time for prayer to take place. And they will say, I have to go pray, I will be right back. And you just sit and wait, and you say, okay, yeah, no problem, I'll wait for you here. So it's just for them, they will excuse themselves, they will go pray, finish, and then they will come back. That's it.
Are meals enjoyed at a dining table, like we're accustomed to, or on the floor? Is it
so
personal?
Afghans are communal eaters. A lot of people back in Afghanistan, they eat on the floor. They put a sheet thing out and they eat together as a family. Here, because of space and the concept of dining tables are here, they will probably want to get a dining table. I know a few of the Afghan families that came here asked me to help them find dining tables because the homes in Afghanistan are much bigger, and they allot a whole room just to sit down and eat. Like they'll have the mats and the pillows, and the sheet will come out, and the room is just for that. But over here in an apartment, the living room is basically right next to the dining room. You can't really put things out on the floor. So if you get them a dining table, that will. And again, a lot of them, as time goes by, will realize that over here, the culture is that you sit and eat on a dining table, and they would want to do that. But there's nothing in the religion that says you have to sit only on the floor and eat on the floor. So. But
maybe we wouldn't clutter the living room, so they have that for guests.
Yeah, so the living room, they'll have a couch and a coffee table and a side table, and then they'll have just something that they can use, just a regular dining table.
But that they could maybe spread out to.
Right, and if ever a time comes where they do want to sit on the floor, they're able to do that themselves. They just need to get the sheet, the what is it called, the tablecloth, and put that on the floor, and have their guests who are comfortable sitting on the floor sit on the floor and eat. It's really not that big of a deal.
Thank you.
One more thing. I mean, it's not like that, but we usually like to sleep on the floor. That's our first priority always. We Afghans. If you go to the richest family, apart from few members, like elderly, we all sleep on the floor. Even I still sleep on the floor. I don't like bed. So there is some sponge like big korbacha. Tosha.
Yeah, those are like big padded mats.
It's like the sponge. Yeah, like it's like a spongy type. It's like in Joann's also they sell it. This kind of foam. Yeah, foam, sponge foam. This kind of. I mean, they just it's like this long from here to here. It's like this cut should be this cut and border like this. So in each room we have that, and we just lay down on it or sleep on that. So that's the only thing, the basic necessity amongst the Afghan culture, that we have to have these. You must have seen it in our houses, in the pictures, haven't you? With the pillows, and you sit on it, on the floor. Have you guys? So Yeah, it's similar to cushions, but it's like bigger ones. So that's also one thing bigger.
Yeah, and even with that, I think you would want to ask the family what they're more comfortable with, because it does depend on the family. Like the Afghan families that came 5-6 months ago, they're like, no, we need beds. And they've never slept in a bed before, but they're like, no, we want beds. We do not want to sleep on the floor. So it depends. Like, even though like we came here, we slept on the floor for a while, and then we're like, okay, we need to get beds. So then we got beds. But again, it's something that you can maybe discuss with them and see, what they're comfortable with.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Toys are game as long as there's no. Yeah, it's universal as long as there's no religious connotation to the toy. They love getting toys for their kids. Yeah, but they also play with other things too. It depends. Like my 11-year-old never played with dolls. And she's like, she wants to go to the basketball court. So I'm like, okay, we'll take you to the basketball court. So, they're open to anything. Again, the issue is getting them to be kids. And if you're providing that avenue for them and giving them what they need, you're already doing so much.
Okay, last one.
Books, are there Afghani language books in the area? Are they available on Amazon? Should we be talking to get some English books for the kids?
English into Pashto, dictionary for a lady, it would be a good gift. And also like few of the, you can give them Quran. It will be really, really, kind of a great gift from you guys. And then so there is one separa for kids. You can also get it from Adam Center. They can help you out, with that. So it will be really, it's really a good thing, that this would be really impressing if you do so. So because, gifting them the thing that they need, their children need on daily basis, they make them read it. The du'as and everything for every Quranic verse. So it will be really a good thing. Yeah.
So I think this has been very helpful panel and discussion. If we could keep it going, it would be great. But what we can do is have you guys email us more questions as they come, as well as have you all email us any thoughts that you think would help us, would be wonderful and welcome. What we'd like to do at this time is invite you all over into the next room where we have some snacks. We're going to break out into our groups, continue the discussion that way. If you all would be welcome to stay and walk around, have people ask you maybe a few more questions, and go from there. Thank you so much.